Thanks for having me. It's it's been actually 2.5 years since I last stood in front of an audience, so I might be a little bit nervous. Thanks, COVID. And let's move to the topic. So I named it Growth That Lasts for Years, and it's gonna be something about marketing, something about data, and something about products. So let's jump into it. So first and foremost, who we are. We are Pixel Federation, so mobile free-to-play game developer and publisher from Slovakia, based in Bratislava, and recently opened up an office in Brno, Czech Republic. So we have two offices, 300 people, 5 games in live ops, and many, many games that we've killed over those 15 years of existence. So it's been a while. We're kind of an old company, but yeah, here we are, still standing. And what we are focusing primarily on are tycoon simulation games, so something like Train Station, and puzzle adventure games, which I'm going to talk about actually. And I chose Diggy's Adventure because it's a game that I've been working on for a while, and it's been around for 10 years, so that's the name of the talk, right? And briefly about me, well, it's not me, it's Gates, of course. But my background is analytical, so all my life I was basically liking the math, liking data, analytics, and so on, and somehow ended up doing marketing. And the guy here, well, that's most of the time me, holding my head and figuring out like what to do next in the current situation and the market where it's heading. So yeah, last 3 years, that's me. I hope I'll be cool as Don Draper one day, but maybe not as cool because, well, his life was miserable. So anyway, moving on. Diggy's Adventure. I'm going to talk about a little bit about this game. So it's a puzzle adventure game, mobile free to play, of course, and It's been around for 10 years, and over those 10 years, we've managed to acquire quite a lot of players. So it was played more than 50 million players over those years, and we generated more than 100 million of net revenue in euros. So that's IIPs and ads combined. Some additional numbers. So the game is hybridly monetized, 75-25 split, and surprisingly, maybe not so surprisingly, it's played and admired more by women. So 60% of our audience are women, and those are the players that keep playing the game for longer and pay longer times. So that's that. And funny thing is, for most of the history of the game itself, there weren't many women designing the game, so it's primarily designed by men. This is kind of a funny story, but it gets better. It gets better over time. So currently 33 people in the team, and I believe like third of the people are women in the team. And one thing to bear in mind, the game is pretty heavy on content. So that's one of the benefits and one of the key features of the game that helped us grow it for so long. So there's more than 5 years of content if you want to play through the whole game. If you are not paying, if you are paying, you can make it a little bit faster, but still, it's really time consuming and complicated. And the game was originally designed for Canvas on Facebook, but we moved to mobile in 2016. So let's look at the growth over the years. Yeah, so I will present you real numbers and how it grew. And actually, you're not really seeing the axes on the x-axis with the years, but this is 2021. There's 2015. So yeah, the growth in the beginning was pretty conservative, I would say, and then there were some distinctive moments that changed the course of action. First of them was me joining the team. No kidding, just kidding. That's not the root cause. We started with a personalization in 2014, and that helped us somehow scale the game. But the biggest breakthrough was in 2016 when we launched the game on mobile, on Android iOS, because the game was much better on mobile since the nature of the gameplay when you are tapping and moving through different locations by getting rid of debris. And then there was some setbacks, and it was like in 2018 we need to rebuild the marketing team from scratch, and it was connected with a significant decrease in revenue. We weren't able to acquire so many users as we were before because we need to start marketing all over again. And then the COVID-19 came, and we benefited from it, to be honest. And last year, iOS, yeah, that had some bad influence on the performance of the game. So let's look a little bit deeper. So now we are looking at 2019 and until 2021, and the beginning, or actually the 2019 wasn't really good. Even though we increased the budgets, so on the x-axis is the marketing, well, below the x-axis is the marketing spend. Even though we increased the marketing budget, we weren't getting any increase in revenue. The players that we acquired weren't paying as much. But two things, two spikes in revenue happened. First in 2020 in January, and then 1 year later, and that was due to post-Christmas boost. We realized that after Christmas, when all the e-commerce is gone from Facebook, Google Ads, and other networks, there's a possibility to scale the marketing significantly, and this we benefited from not only on Diggy's but also on other projects, and it was quite a spike. And of course, it was connected with the COVID period. Yeah, the lockdowns helped a lot with increased gameplay and increased expenditure. So that helped a lot. However, it didn't last that long because, well, Apple came and changed the game completely. So we weren't able to target as efficiently as in the past. So, and not only that, we weren't able to acquire players on iOS as efficiently as before, but also the competition on Android increased quite significantly. So the CPIs rose, and we weren't able to spend as efficiently and you could see that we decreased the marketing budget significantly again, and that revenues followed slowly. But let me show you a couple of more charts here on Diggy's Adventure so you understand better how the game is performing. So first and foremost, retention is quite low, and it was from the beginning, and it's still the case. So day one retention is only at 20%, so way below standards, what we are used to. However, there is one thing that we got right, and this is the long tail. And the long tail means that we are able to keep players playing for more than a year, and there's still some percentage, well, 1% of players that keep playing even after 1 year's time. Then second, not so good thing is low conversion to payer. So we are only converting 1% of players from tier 1 countries within the first 24 hours. And this is basically 3 times less than other titles that we are able to scale. But there are two things that are really nice, and that is the shape of the average revenue per user curve. And that is, I wouldn't say it's linear because, well, it's not, but isn't as logarithmic that some of the other games we have right now. And what that means is that we can still generate revenue even after a certain period of time, even in the long run. And this is what we benefited from when we actually scaled the game. So how did we get there? Well, of course, you have to have great product, great marketing, great analytics, but in the past, these departments were working in silos. So everyone was doing their job the best they could, but weren't really communicating with each other, and it was sufficient. We could make it work. The only cooperation where we seen really good results was between analytics and product, because the analysts were embedded within the team. However, there was only some cooperation between analytics and marketing, because marketing needs data, of course, to make decisions. But there was no cooperation between product and marketing. It was always coming down to bashing one each other. What somebody did wrong, that they fucked up the product. Why are the campaigns not profitable, and so on and so on. So it wasn't really good environment to be in. But I'm gonna touch a little bit about the analytics and marketing now, and That's our data ecosystem. It's quite complicated. I don't want to go too much into detail, but we made everything, well, we built it in-house. We are currently migrating to Amazon, but still it's going to be based on Spark, on Hadoop, and it's like basically the brain of all the business logics as well. So if you are segmenting something and if you are making some offers, the decisions how to price the things are made in the data warehouse, and then it's passed along to the products and other applications, of course. So, and one thing that I need to mention as well when taking into account marketing and analytics is the prediction of LTV. And I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but yeah, what it means is basically you set up some specific period. In our case, it's 1 year, and usually it's the period that you want to regain the costs back, right? So this is like the usual stuff, it's nothing new. And we are currently, there are many methods how to calculate it. We are using like normalized ARPA curve. I'm gonna get a little bit into detail, but we are still there. And this is a slide from a presentation from 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, and we are still there. We are not haven't changed anything about it. Maybe just the way that we recalculate and reevaluate the models over time. And so what are the ARPA curves? Yeah, we calculate those from historical data. We take into account the newer data, more recent data as more valid. We don't distinguish between different networks and geos, for example, but only take into account project and platform, and as a function of days in game, so how long the player stays in the game, and it's normalized towards 1 year when then it's 1. And it's actually, wow, this looks terrible. Sorry for that, but I hope you can see at least something. So it's actually calculated from ARPU per days in game categories, and it's basically a composite of these curves into the days in game shape. I would say it looks actually like this afterwards. But bear in mind what happened. Like to see what happened, what was the influence on iOS changes. We've seen quite a steep decline in the revenue coming from users in day 0 after the IDFA post ATT thing. But funny thing is, it didn't only happen on iOS; it happened on Android as well, and it had a similar pattern. However, luckily we were able to tackle that this year, and I guess you can see the steep incline in 2022, and I'm going to show you how we made it on these. Okay, and about the curves, as I already mentioned for Diggy's, the ARPU curve was pretty flat. The LTV curve, of course, is pretty flat as well, and it's much more linear than other projects that are actually profitable as well. For example, those curves, I labeled out the projects that are represent, but still, it's way below what we are used to in other projects. So to sum it up, this part at least, how we get there, you need a great product with a great team. Of course, it can't be done without it. Diggy is pretty strong in live ops, so every single week there is something new happening in the game. Then you need the data, because you can't do any decisions without it. You don't know what you're doing if you're just making changes and not measuring things. And we're focusing, from the user acquisition perspective, we're focusing on acquiring the highest value players, always, right? So always running campaigns optimized towards purchases, ROAS, value, and so on. So it worked in the past, but it's not working anymore, and it won't be working in next year or so. So we needed to tackle those, and we're focusing on long tail returns. And as you could see in the COVID and post-Christmas boost, the ability to adapt to the new circumstances is crucial. You need to make changes, I don't say every day, but when an opportunity comes, you need to take it in order to the company to grow. So what has changed? Well, a lot. These guys came and ruined everything. So we weren't able to target and acquire valuable players as easily as we were in the past. And this is still an ongoing issue. And many networks that we used to use for user acquisition on iOS were just gone. Well, at least not profitable anymore. We were primarily focused on Facebook, Google Ads, the major networks, and it got much more difficult. So just a little bit about the SKI network setup, just really briefly. We started with a easy setup, revenue bucketing, right? So we use the values to measure the revenue primarily, since it's IIP heavy. And we started with one bucket per $10. So we tried to measure $630 within the first 24 hours. And it went horribly wrong. We were using like 2 of the values, and rest of them was basically useless. And then we slowly moved to analysis, looking at the actual distribution of the revenue, and started with the custom revenue buckets, then moved to combination. So we added like some AEO into it, in particular tutorial complete and level up to 10 for Diggies, because it made sense for us, and 15 revenue buckets. So that was the distribution we started with, and now we are trying with AppsFlyer, since I guess you've seen it on the slide with the data stack. We're trying to the single source of truth right now, and we will see. And also we changed the 2 AEO events to tutorial to level 10 funnel, because it can't happen the other way around. And from analytical standpoint, we did what we could, right? Like, so we look at the distribution of revenues within first 24 hours, and then try to apply the buckets on top of it. So that's the first thing. And then we looked at the correlation, or what's the distinguishing factor between those players that returned on day 1 retention or did not, and if they reach a certain level. And we decided, yeah, this is good enough metric to optimize towards, to that, I don't say predicts day 1 retention, but at least shows some engagement of the player. So with the scan setup, yeah, we still have issues we are dealing with. We are not using majority of the conversion values still. We still have low conversion to payer, so not many revenue buckets are utilized almost all the time. We have low engagement on day 0, since the retention on day 1 is only 20% for tier 1. And we need to tackle those in the near future. First, we will try some custom AO with predictive capability. So if there is an event that predicts whether the player pays or not, we want to try that out. And we want to try also the player LTV model. So actually modeling the actual lifetime value of a player on user level basis. And then when it comes to measuring on iOS, just really quickly, we move to, well, since we can't distinguish between non-organic and organic, we move to country level reporting. So we are looking at combination of marketing and organic, and we are measuring on specific geos to see whether the geo itself makes sense. And it's okay-ish. It's not, it was better before, but it is what it is. We need to make something out of it, and so this is what we got so far. And to improving the product. So this is not the only thing that how we tackle things. We started improving the product and improving since that was the pain point of ours, low conversion to payer and low ARPU in day 0. We need to tackle those. And we started with pretty simple things, like changing the balance of first-time user experience and making things more difficult. Yeah, not really good thing, maybe, but we will see. And then optimizing beginner's pack and experimenting with interstitial ads. I don't have much thing about the point 3, unfortunately, since the test didn't run yet, but you can talk to my colleague who's designing it, sort of, co-designing it here. So for the change of balance, we increased the difficulty. We got rid of the free energy that player can get by playing the game, like quest completes and level ups. And we hope that it will increase the average value per user, increase the conversion to payer, and keeps the retention the same. And what were the results? Interestingly, it has 0 impact on retention because it was already quite low. So maybe that's the reason, I don't know. But it had 0 impact. So players were still motivated to come back. And it had huge impact on the monetization. It actually increased the, I don't know if you can see it, like it increased like 30 or 40% day 7 ARPU, and it actually translated to day 30 and even further. So it was a really good change. So yeah, great success. And then second thing, really cool or really easy A/B test of beginner spec. The only thing changed here is the mark here, like it's not the best value, but 70% off. What do you think happened? Anyone? Not really. Yeah, actually, it helped quite a lot. I'll be finishing really quickly. So it improved the conversion on the specific pack by 0.5%. So it was a steep increase in conversion. And then the last thing that we are trying right now is optimizing the beginner's pack. So changing it from 1 to cascade levels. So we are having 3 packs instead of 1 that start at 5, lowered to 3, and ended up in $1. And we are hoping that it will increase the conversion to payer while not maintaining the ARPU and the retention. And we don't know. We shall see about that. And I have to finalize. So 1 minute. I'll skip this part. So one thing that changed dramatically, and it's important to mention, is we started communicating and improving cross-departmental collaboration. So everyone's talking right now because it's the only way to move forward. So this is it. So not only product, data, and marketing are working together, but we added also R&D, who are helping us with research of like quality data and so on, and also with the first-party data implementation. So making some surveys and other things. So this is really crucial for us to move forward, because without that, we won't be able to grow anymore in this current situation. And yeah, to summarize really, really quickly. So hyper-targeting is gone. We need to target much broader audience. The way to go is in-app personalization. We need to like make the game suitable for whales, but also for non-payers that are only monetizing through ads, for example. Working in silos is not an option anymore, because if we are not talking to each other, then we won't know like what to do. So cross-departmental collaboration is such a mouthful. Is the only way to move forward. And when the environment changes, you need to adapt really quickly. And this is the only way how you can grow your game. So if something changes, quickly adapt. I know it's more difficult in big companies, but I think small companies can do it quite quickly. And that's it. 2 minutes longer. Sorry. Apologies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And questions, if we have some time.
Yeah. Thanks for the talk. It was really insightful. I have a question. I was wondering how far do you go with in-offer items personalization? So what do you do other than price segmentation?
Yeah, so the offers are, well, I was showing only the beginning of the like the beginner's pack, but we do it on every single pack that it's following. So basically, if a player pays some significant amount of money, then he's tiered towards higher tiers. He gets more expensive packs. Yeah, that's the price segmentation. And now we are optimizing the ads with interstitials. We actually want to end up with showing more or less ads to certain players. For example, if you are a high payer, you won't get interstitials, of course, because like it would hurt you. So this is something where we are moving on. And then yeah, well, actually that's so far that's it. And the only personalization is that there are some like costumes basically you can choose from. So there's just skins. And yeah, I guess that's it.